Welcome to the Boston Celtics podcast here on the Athletic Podcast Network. I'm your host, Sam Jam Packard, professional sports fan. And I am joined, as always, by the kid, the god, the legend, Celtics beat reporter from The Athletic, Jay King, ladies and gentlemen. And we are coming to you late on Sunday morning, I guess Friday. I don't even have my days correct. But the point of the matter, I'm frazzled right now. I'm amped up because Tristan Thompson just said some absolute gold quotes in the post-game press conference. But really, I'm amped up because Jason Tatum scored 50 points, and the Celtics took Game 3 from the Brooklyn Nets. I believe it was 125 to 119. Jay King, you were in the building. What was your reaction from this game?
Just a special performance from Tatum. He's had at least 50 points now 4 times since April 9th. This was the most impressive to me because you can't let up against Brooklyn. Harden and KD combined for 80 points, and Tatum was the best player on the court, and the Celtics needed every bit of it. I think just watching the relentlessness that he showed to pick on matchups and to go to the hoop and to draw fouls, it was really a special performance from him. And to do it in, first in the first quarter, they get down 15. He helps bring the Celtics flying back with 13 points in that quarter. Then Celtics go ahead, and he just kept making plays, some passes in the fourth quarter, some buckets in the fourth quarter, the shot over KD to basically seal it. It was just a really, really great game from Tatum. And then the Celtics needed a lot of their other guys to play well too.
And it's not only like all the shots he made, and he was relentless in going after pretty much everyone. I was kind of surprised the Nets just continued to switch and let him go after Claxton and Shaman. It was really the third quarter. I thought with him and Marcus Smart combined to have a huge basically, that's what won the Celtics the game. They were able to kind of build up this big lead. They combined for 29 points there. Jason Tatum had, I think, 19 in that quarter. But just attacking the Nets bench, it was what allowed the Celtics to be successful. And I think the Jeff Green injury actually had much more of an impact than I think anyone thought it was going to, because it allowed the Celtics to attack. But then Tatum was also making passes, and the Celtics ended up shooting over 40% from three, largely just because of Marcus Smart and Evan Fournier, who were able to knock down shots. And when the Nets were loading up and putting a lot of attention to Jason Tatum, and he just continued to make the right play. And the Celtics held up down the stretch. They were able to hold on to that lead, but it's just anytime they needed a bucket, they went back to Tatum, and he was able to get to the line, or even when they didn't get that big switch or that switch on Durant, he was able to knock down that shot over him. He just continues to be great in a game in which James Harden was unstoppable, and Kevin Durant, I don't remember him missing. It was just wild to see the Celtics be able to continue to score with the Nets for 48 minutes after falling down 19-4 in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's what they need to do, right? That's what Brad Stevens has been impressing upon everyone the whole time. Like, the Nets are going to score a lot. Kyrie did not have a great game today at all. The Nets supporting cast was very quiet, and the Nets still had 125.3 points per 100 possessions. They still scored 119 points. Like, they were still offensively fantastic. They're just going to be really tough to stop, and that's why there's so much pressure on the Celtics to keep scoring. And that's why I thought Tatum's performance was so special, because he had so many answers. And like, it's just so exhausting to play that way. They were running everything through him. They were giving him the ball in the post. They were isoing him up top. They were trying to give him as much space and then playing off him basically every single possession. And I just
thought, that's playoff basketball. That's what we talked about, like what we wanted to see from Tatum going into the series. It's like you have to exploit the weakness on the floor. And for Brooklyn, they don't have like a fifth guy at this point. Basically anyone other than Kevin Durant. They kept on talking about this on the broadcast. If Tatum got someone not named Kevin Durant on him, he was going to win that matchup, and he did it consistently, knocking down 16 shots tonight, and then also just getting to the line. the Celtics, I mean, the Nets shot 16 free throws in the fourth quarter, and the Celtics were still able to maintain their lead and keep it going. But I thought it was just one. I think Brad did a job of just going to Jason Tatum, but then making some adjustments. We saw he invented a new way to screen with just guys facing forward. I thought he did a better job, at least in the start of the game, where it was like Tatum still was solid, but it wasn't so much focused on Tatum. I thought the offense just looked better. There was clearly just a more emphasis of getting to the rim. And I think that allowed Tristan Thompson, who, hand up, I fucked up. I've been slandering Tristan Thompson this entire year. He had his best game of the season, 9 offensive rebounds. And I think a lot of that was just so much the rim pressure the Celtics put on. It allowed Tristan Thompson to come in and put everything back. He still finished the game minus 16, but we're not going to focus on that. But I just thought it was a solid performance offensively from pretty much everyone other than Kemba Walker.
Yeah. And the Celtics, they needed all of it. Fournier hit some big shots. That was the Marcus Smart game, by the way. Shouts to me. I knew there would be a Marcus Smart game when he just hit everything, and the Celtics needed him to hit everything. Like the Nets are going to send a ton of pressure toward Tatum. They're going to send a ton of attention toward Tatum. I actually thought they gave up too many easy switches, the Nets did. Like, how many times did they just, like, very easily switch Kyrie onto Tatum, and Tatum just had his way with that matchup? I think the Nets will probably try to do things a little differently in game 4 and moving forward. Like, there's no point of switching that, especially when it's Marcus Smart running the pick and roll. Like, just go underneath the screen. I know Smart was hot. I know he's capable of hitting that shot. But the way Tatum was going, like, I just felt like they gave up switches way too easily. But
I don't know why they kept doing it. Like, we saw them, I think, one time double Tatum like Harden did, and he did a great job of finding Romeo open in the corner. But that's still Romeo Langford, and if you're the Nets, you're gonna live with that shot. I would expect them to kind of switch up their coverages a bit and just try to get the ball out of Jason Tatum's hands, just because, I mean, if Kemba's not gonna, like, Kemba, I don't know how much of his knee is affecting him, but he clearly didn't have it offensively, other than when he's shooting in the mid range. He should only be allowed to shoot in the mid range from now on. But I thought also the Celtics did just a better job rotating defensively. I know that, like, Kevin Durant and James Harden are pretty much unstoppable, but they didn't find themselves in rotation as much as they did in game 2. Like, they had those guys and played them straight up they're going to beat them one-on-one because that's what James Harden and Kevin Durant do. But Joe Harris didn't have a big night, had some real ugly misses. But I just didn't like, that's, I think, the way you have to, I guess, beat the Nets is just not let them get going in transition, not let them get those easy baskets, make their stars be stars and make them score 40 each night. And so I thought the Celtics were just better defensively. And I think a lot of credit goes to Romeo Langford, who played 20 minutes plus off the bench, and I thought was just solid defensively. And then finally we saw Grant Williams come in and play small ball 5. He was huge in that stretch in the third quarter when the Celtics made that run. He was perfect tonight in his role. Had a huge block on James Harden as well, but I just thought the defensive intensity and the physicality was that much better tonight as compared to game 2.
Yeah, and I mean, Romeo, they kind of just dusted him off, played him 27 minutes. I think we saw Brad Stevens shift more from offensive choices with the bench. You know, he was going with Jabari Parker over the first 2 games to more solid defenders, and Romeo is obviously that. And I thought Romeo, like, obviously Durant and Harden were just going bonkers. They hit a ton of tough shots, but Romeo kind of stayed in front, forced them to take tough shots. And that's what all you're trying to do against those guys. And that's been the game plan all along, is to take away the supporting cast, make Harden, Kyrie, and KD just make superstar shots over and over. And they will. And that's,
and they did.
and they did. But if you can limit the other guys, then maybe you can give yourself a chance. And so, yeah, the Celtics bench, I mean, plus 21 for Romeo, plus 15 for Grant Williams. And they were both very solid defensively. And they're both bigger guys who can do some switching and can at least try to stay in front of Kevin Durant and James Harden and contest those guys. And so I think that's important. And, you know, the difference between Jabari Parker defensively and Romeo and Grant defensively is pretty wide. And it's not like Jabari was giving you a ton of offense anyway. So I think that was a necessary adjustment from Stevens and something that Celtics will probably stay with moving forward, especially now with Robert Williams in a walking boot with a sprained ankle, and who knows what his status will be moving forward.
He shouldn't come back, and that was kind of I think the most surprising thing. He was like, the offense actually looked pretty good when he was in there, but he did not play at all in the second half, and that's like why that we saw Celtics go to Grant. And I thought like it makes sense with Brad just kind of focusing on defense more, because the offensive strategy was get the ball to Tatum and get the hell out of the way. Not a bad strategy when the guy can put up 50 and has put up 50 4 times. The only person to put up 50 in the regular season, the playing game, and a playoff game the same season. So,
ooh,
a little fancy
step there. History there. Although the playing game doesn't really count toward records.
It counts for that record.
Yeah, I mean he's the only tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row.
I mean, before we get to I know you got to go and actually write some articles on this game. You'd be a professional reporter, but any other big takeaways from the Celtics victory?
Yeah, I just thought defensively they were much better, and even though the numbers didn't show it, like they were just far more solid. And Harden hit 7 out of 12 threes, and just they were all like tough step backs. So, and every once in a while he's going to do that. He's not like a super high percentage 3-point guy, so those are shots the Celtics are going to have to live with, especially if they're switching Tristan Thompson and stuff like that out on him as they have been sometimes. I just thought they were a lot sharper. I was impressed by how they came back after falling behind 19-4. Like, that's a haymaker right off the bat. Fall behind 19-4. And I thought Marcus Smart was awesome in the first quarter. He was awesome most of the game. I thought Tatum, he never stopped. And that's the type of effort that everyone kind of is demanding from him. And it's really tough to do that all the time. But he showed a glimpse of like just being absolutely unstoppable, possession after possession, forcing the Nets into bad situations over and over and over again. To me, the most impressive plays by him, there were a lot, but in the fourth quarter, like the 2 passes for kick out threes that he made when he had it going, like it's tough to make that pass when you really have it going. He did that. And then the other one, he had Bruce Brown, must have been exhausted, had played about 40 minutes, deep into the fourth quarter, goes to the hoop, draws a foul. And it was just like the tough buckets that he just never let the Nets off the hook at all that entire game. And that's what I was most impressed by. Like, that's exhausting to do over and over for an entire game in a playoff setting. And Tatum did it.
And he just mowed through different defenders. Like Nick Claxton got his chance, like they had to switch it. Landry Shamet did not have a good game. He like destroyed him. Kyrie had him for the start of the fourth quarter. Eventually they had to go away from him. I thought Bruce Brown did the best job against Tatum and made it most difficult. But you're right. He just absolutely just kept punishing anyone who was in front of him, and then hit the kind of game-sealing shot over Kevin Durant. What did you think of Kyrie Irving's return to the Boston Garden tonight? I laughed when I saw that he was welcoming the boos. I thought that was fantastic.
Was great. That was fantastic. I didn't expect that out of Kyrie because he's not really one to engage in a lot of stuff like that. He normally plays it cool and doesn't
not a hoopla guy. Not
at all. But he was calling when they were chanting "fuck you." He was calling for more of it. I appreciated that. I respected that. It was great theater. It'll be even better theater in Game 4 with close to a full crowd and with the Celtics now in this series, or somewhat in this series at least. If they win that game, who knows? To pull within 2-2. So I think it'll be a crazy, crazy crowd on Sunday. Kyrie, he didn't try to force much, but he was really quiet. It wasn't one of his better nights. There were a couple plays when it felt like he was trying to force things because of the crowd and because of the situation. But yeah, the Nets, they don't need him to be great, to be unstoppable, especially when Durant and Harden are like that. So,
which is wild. Is Jeff Green more important to the Brooklyn Nets than Kyrie Irving?
No, absolutely not.
I don't know.
But he is important, and he's just another guy with physicality to stop Tatum. I just thought Tatum was so physical that there wasn't much the Nets could do. And when he's playing like that, like there aren't many guys who can stop him. There aren't many guys who can slow him down, and the Nets certainly don't have many. So that's what he has to do. That's how good he has to be for the Celtics to really have a chance. It's going to take special outing after special outing after special outing, and that's kind of what Tristan Thompson told him after the game. I think Tristan told him, you know, the great players run it back and do it again. So no pressure, Tatum. Just got to have another 50 burger in game 4.
I mean, I said before the series that for them to win a game, like they needed to get 60 from Kemba and Tatum. I think Kemba only had 6 tonight.
They didn't even get 60 from, even though Tatum had 50. Yeah,
they had 56, but still,
Fournier and Smart more than made up for it.
Yeah, and
Fournier was really good.
Fournier was good, knocked down some huge shots. There's a one ATO, I think, after a challenge
from the corner,
yeah, where I thought Tatum did a good job finding it. But Fournier was very solid and just a great passer and just made the right plays tonight. All right, we got to go, so we're going to finish up with the world-famous potable six-pack as I enjoy my beverage. Jay King, what is the first pick tonight?
I'm going to go with Kyrie asking the crowd for more while they chanted "fuck you, Kyrie." I just really appreciated that. I wasn't ready for it, and just seeing him going like this, it was great theater. I'm there for the drama. I'm there for the beef. I'm glad that there was nothing that crossed the line, or seemingly nothing that crossed the line. It was just good old-fashioned sports hatred, and Kyrie fed into it, and it was fun.
And it's going to be even more insane on Sunday night when you get the full Garden. Let me tell you, I've been missing like the full Garden, like the energy. I know I made fun of Knicks fans for being like, it's different in MSG. No, it's just like when you get 17,000 sports fans who are like really locked in, it's just a fun environment. I think the Celtics have a real chance to feed off of it. And you know what? My first pick in the potable six pack has got to be Tristan Thompson's post-game media availability.
I wanted to pick that one too.
I can't fucking wait till Sunday. 17K green. I'm going to see the leprechaun. That's what it's all about. We need to blow the roof off this motherfucker. Get it rocking. Let's fucking dance and have a good time. Like, that man's electric. They're pure electric factory. That was just, we waited for what, 2 hours after the game, but you knew Tristan Thompson was going to deliver. I want to see the leprechaun. I'm going to be there Sunday night. I'm going to have dance and have a good time.
Whoever see the leprechaun say, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic. I've criticized Tristan Thompson a lot this entire year, but for just like, that's exactly what you want. And I thought he played with a lot of energy today, a lot of offensive rebounding. I liked him pumping up the crowd. You need like something like that. And I was just a huge fan of Tristan Thompson doing that. His post game was fantastic.
Yeah. It was electric, and he was great. That was probably Tristan Thompson's best performance with the Celtics. The part about his post-game performance that you glossed over is that he was asked about his play and was kind of pissed off that the reporter hinted that he hadn't been playing like that all season. But then he said, you know what? Some guys are regular season players. Other guys are playoff players. And I think it's pretty clear that he considers himself a playoff player. So
regular season's horse shit. So I mean,
yeah,
if you're gonna show up, you gotta be playoffs.
It's no longer horse shit. And Tristan Thompson was really, really good. And like his performance on the glass, especially early in that game, like really helped turn things around for Boston.
All right, my second pick is going to be Marcus Smart drawing the charge on Kevin Durant late. That should have sealed it. Can't believe it was overturned. That was just a ridiculous call. Like, it was clearly just the reminiscent of that great Celtics comeback against the Rockets and James Harden. Like, Harden should have told Durant like that was coming. And then to have that overturned and then Marcus's like ridiculous pondering reaction to it, it was just, frankly, it was absurd. It was the entirety of Marcus Smart, but I was entertained by it once the Celtics won.
My favorite part of the Marcus Smart experience, and this is going to be my next pick, was when he convinced Brad Stevens to challenge the foul that he made, a very bad foul on Kevin Durant.
94 feet from the hoop.
Yeah. But he convinced Brad to challenge it. I'm always a big fan when a player convinces a coach to challenge it, because players are often wrong. They never think they foul.
Also, there's like 6 more calls than the rest of that game where like they could have used that challenge.
Yeah. There were a lot of borderline calls.
The Tatum foul on Bruce Brown in the backcourt was absurd.
That was a tough one. But yeah, so that was my favorite Marcus Smart moment. This was the Marcus Smart game. He was so good the whole way through. I thought defensively, he just set a tone for the Celtics. I thought Tatum was great defensively too. Like those two guys were really, really sharp defensively, and Smart offensively too. Like his offense, because of how shorthanded the Celtics are without Jaylen Brown, is really important to space the court for Tatum, to set up Tatum. There were so many times when Smart was the guy who helped Tatum get the matchup, and Smart was like adamant about finding Tatum in those matchups. I just thought he was very, very good the whole way through.
He also had a ridiculous bucket with like 2.5 minutes to play, where it was just like the play broke down and he drove into the paint and just did his goofy Marcus Smart shit. That was just like, that's classic Marcus.
Yep. And then my last pick will be Grant Williams talking shit to Kevin Durant.
Yeah, buddy.
Just Grant Williams talking shit to Kevin Durant. Not much else needs to be said there. At first, I don't think he was talking shit, and then it looked like Kevin Durant might have said something to him, and Grant snapped back. That is now 2 straight games. First it was Fournier, now it's Grant Williams.
What I think happened was Durant knocked down Fournier and then started talking shit to Fournier, and Grant was like defending his guy. I think that's what he was going like. But just still, the willingness to talk shit to Kevin Durant is fantastic. Grant also had a huge block in that. We have to give him credit for that. That
one was wild. He really got up there. I thought it was definitely a goaltend, but they didn't call it, and he was well above the rim.
Yeah, no, great block. My pick is going to be, and it's only because they reviewed it and ended up being Boston's ball, but you talk about it all the time, Kemba Walker shooting from deep with about like the Celtics up 6 in a minute or like a minute and a half left to play. He just took one of the most absurd shots. Like he was 0 for 6 for that point, and he's only hitting foul. Like he hit a layup to start the game and then 2 foul line jumpers. It was an awful, awful shot that didn't end up costing them. But man, that was terrible.
Wasn't Kemba's best offensive performance. Got a lot of rebounds. Had some good defensive possessions. I thought one of the foul calls on him was really tough, at least one. But yeah, scoring wise, they're going to need more from him, because Tatum, Smart, and Fournier can't be the only ones scoring, and their supporting cast. Like if they're going to play Grant Williams and Romeo Langford big minutes, there's no one else to score outside of their top 4 guys. So they need Kemba.
Needs to attack. Like he's so good at the mid-range pull-up, just like, if that's what you need to do to get Kemba scoring points, like that's what you go for it. Like he's just not knocking down threes at this point. I don't know what his knee status is, but it feels like that's the shot he's most comfortable taking. So he needs to do it. If the Celtics want to win game 4, they're going to need another 56 points from Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker. I don't know what the combination is going to be, but we saw it tonight. They're going to have to just continue scoring with the Nets, and they're going to need high volume from both of those guys, hopefully so Tatum doesn't have to go for another 50. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens on Sunday night. We will be there after the game, hopefully a little bit earlier than tonight, but who knows? Reactions from game 4. And thank you guys for watching. Everyone is staying up with us on the YouTubes. And Jay, I just wanted to know, is Landry Shamet potable?
No.
Anything